This is HFY Vanguard in the cold void humans burn brightest, and our tale starts here. The boot struck the cyberdog square in its optical sensor with a hollow thunk. Raider Blake winced at the pathetic sound. It was the sort of move that would have earned laughter in a training drill, but in that moment it bought him 3 precious seconds. 3 seconds were all he needed. The predator's metal jaws snapped shut where his throat had been a heartbeat before. Sparks spat from its mangled snout as Raider threw himself sideways, rolling through the glowing undergrowth of the alien jungle. He hit hard ribs aching, but his arms never let go of the figure. He had dived for a woman bleeding out onto the moss, her violet skin slick with luminous blood that made the air taste like static. Really, the voice in his skull dripped with ancient disdain. A boot. I've endured the rise and fall of civilizations, witnessed gods and tyrants burn, and my wielder throws footwear at apex predators. Less commentary, Raider growled between breaths, more help. The staff in his grip shimmered, the carved wood splitting, reshaping with a pulse of energy older than the stars. One end elongated into a scanner, runes flickering across its surface. The other hummed with power, morphing into a regenerator, a relic that predated most galactic medicine. Raider pressed it against the woman's shredded ribs, forcing energy into her failing body. Her blood spilled hot over his hands, glowing faintly in the darkness. Where it touched his skin, his nerves lit up as if he'd grabbed a live power cable. He ignored the sensation, kept working. Muscle memory, instinct, the kind of motions that had kept him alive long after he'd lost faith in luck. Behind him, the cyberdog regrouped servos, whining as it coiled to strike again. Its breath reeked of ozone and rotten metal. Behind you, Asterion, the voice of the staff said with infuriating calm. Also, this planet's magnetic field feels like someone dragging their fingers through my grain. Highly unpleasant. Not my priority right now, Raider barked. He dragged the woman with him, rolling across the moss, just as claws raked the ground they had occupied. The creature's talons gouged trenches in the bioluminescent carpet, sending sparks of purple light drifting like disturbed fireflies. She was heavier than she looked, lean frame hiding denser muscle bones that weren't quite human in proportion. Her rose-colored hair lashed across his face, carrying a metallic scent copper, and flowers blended into something strange and alien. Kimmy, Raider shouted. From the left, his sister's voice rang out sharp and annoyed. Little busy here. Same, Raider snarled, shifting the woman's weight, keeping the regenerator pressed against her ribs as it knitted glowing tissue together thread by thread. Her eyes snapped open. Amber irises flecked with gold pupils contracted to knife points. For a heartbeat, Raider saw his own reflection, their blood-spattered, desperate stranger. Then her lips pulled back from teeth that were far too sharp, not remotely humanoid. She struck. Her bite clamped onto the juncture of his neck and shoulder. His jacket shredded like paper as fangs drove deep. Pain seared white-hot through his nerves, fire racing down his veins, followed by an icy flood. Then something else entirely. His entire body felt flayed open, every nerve aware of every other nerve within 50 feet. He choked on a curse staff, nearly slipping from his grip. Congratulations, Asterion said with barely suppressed glee. You're now engaged. In their culture, that bite means you're either married or dinner. Hard to tell which with the limited data I have. Lady Raider ground out, trying to wrench her loose. I'm trying to save your life here. The cyberdog lunged. It never got its chance. A blur burst from the foliage. Kimmy, 16 years old, slight in frame but carrying the power of a storm. Her hands closed on the beast's skull and twisted. Servos cracked. Metal shrieked. The cyberdog crashed to the moss, twitching. 3 down, Kimmy muttered, wiping blood and machine oil across her pants. Her dark eyes scanned the scene, landing on her brother, who was currently being gnawed on by a violet-skinned woman. Ray, why is the pretty purple lady eating you? Cultural misunderstanding, Raider hissed through clenched teeth. The woman's jaw slackened at last. She sagged against him, unconscious once more. The regenerator's glow worked steadily, her wounds closing faster now. Raider held her upright, sweat dripping down his brow. Then the jungle went silent. Not the gradual quieting of startled wildlife. Instant. Total. Even the bioluminescent plants dimmed their glow, ebbing back like a tide. Company, Kimmy whispered, her stance shifting weight forward on the balls of her feet. Big company. They emerged from the purple foliage like phantoms turned solid. 2 dozen at least, maybe more. Figures in bio-armor that looked grown rather than crafted, each bearing weapons equal parts organic and mechanical. Their skins shaded from deep indigo to pale lavender, marked with glowing tattoos that pulsed in strange rhythms Raider couldn't decipher. Every single one of them stared at him. "Nobody move," Raider said, forcing his voice to stay steady. The woman's weight pressed against his chest like stone. "We're medics. We found her under attack. We helped." The ranks parted. A figure stepped forward, older, scarred, his body painted in ritual markings that covered more skin than not. His presence pressed against the clearing like a storm front. When he spoke, Raider's translator struggled with the syntax. "You bear the mark," the elder said reverently. "The sacred venom flows in alien veins. The blood bonding is complete." Raider blinked, looked at his shoulder. The bite wound glowed faintly with the same luminous sheen as the woman's blood. Lines spread outward from it in deliberate patterns, forming something that looked disturbingly intentional. The scarred elder dropped to one knee. One by one, the rest followed, weapons clattering against root and moss. "The breed alpha has come," the elder intoned. "As prophecy foretold, the daughter of our chieftain has chosen." Raider's jaw went slack. Kimmy muttered, "Oh, that's not good." The elder's words hung in the clearing like thunder that refused to fade. Raider swallowed, throat dry. Breed alpha prophecy. He'd been called many things across the colonies: mercenary, vagabond, disappointment, but never alpha. Kimmy shifted uneasily beside him, her small frame taut like a coiled spring. Her voice, quiet but edged with steel, slipped past her lips. "Ray, what did you do this time?" "I threw a boot," Raider muttered. Kimmy arched a brow. "Apparently you also got married." The scarred elder lifted his face, glowing tattoos pulsing brighter in reverence. "The mark of venom. The sacred bond. Our chieftain's daughter has chosen, and the prophecy awakens once more." Chosen. Raider glanced down at the unconscious woman still slumped against his chest. "She tried to eat me. That's not exactly..." A ripple passed through the assembled warriors. Their ranks parted again. She emerged like the eye of the storm. Older than the unconscious woman, yet bearing the same proud cheekbones and golden amber eyes. Her armor was darker, heavier, etched with spiraling lines that pulsed faintly like veins of fire. Her presence silenced the jungle more completely than any predator. The chieftain, Lissa's mother. Her gaze swept the scene, the shattered cyberdog, the kneeling warriors, the unconscious daughter in Raider's arms, and finally settled on him. When she spoke, her voice was carved from stone and flame. "Off-worlder, what have you done?" "Saved her life," Raider said carefully. His neck and shoulders still throbbed from the bite, but he kept his grip steady on the regenerator pressed against her ribs. "She was dying. I healed her." "You bonded her." The chieftain's eyes narrowed, their glow reflecting the venom mark burning on his skin. "Do you understand what that means?" "Not entirely," Raider admitted, "but I'm guessing this is bad." Kimmy's muttered snort earned her several hostile looks. She met them all with a glare sharp enough to cut. "Go on, try it," she challenged. The elder bowed low to the chieftain. "It is the prophecy, Lady Kaelin. The heartwood has chosen, the venom flows, the alpha rises." "Silence," she commanded, and the elder dropped flat against the moss. The chieftain approached, circling Raider like a predator, sizing up prey. "The blood bond is no mere healing ritual, human. It is ancient, sacred. It binds lives together, flesh and spirit. It cannot be undone." Raider's stomach sank. He glanced at the glowing mark on his shoulder. "And if I don't cooperate, then both of you die." Her words fell like hammers. 3 days. The venom consumes bond-broken flesh in 3 days. Your choice is simple: complete the bond or perish with her. Kimmy swore under her breath. "That's barbaric." The chieftain's eyes flicked to her, lingering longer than Raider expected. Something passed across her face, recognition maybe, or unease. But she turned back to him. "You carry the heartwood." Her gaze dropped to Asterion in his grip. "That relic has not spoken in 1,000 years, yet it answers you." Raider almost laughed. "Answers it heckles me." "Inaccurate," Asterion sniffed inside his mind. "My commentary is constructive criticism. Mostly." The chieftain's lips tightened. "That staff belonged to my mother, who died wielding it against the Sky Hunters. It should have remained silent until one of Kusanir blood proved worthy. Yet here you stand, alien hands upon it, my daughter's venom in your veins." Raider felt Lissa stir weakly against him. Her eyelids fluttered open, amber irises hazy but aware. She rasped one word: "Mother." The chieftain froze. The hardness in her expression cracked just slightly as she stepped forward. Lissa. But her daughter's next words were not what she expected. Should have let me die. The venom mark on Raider's shoulder pulsed in reply, heat searing through his skin. He winced but held her steady. Not happening, he told her. I don't let people die if I can stop it. Her laugh was bitter and weak. Then you're trapped. Same as me. The chieftain's jaw clenched. She turned to Raider. You will come to the settlement. The shamans will oversee the bond. Perhaps the prophecy is true. And if I say no, Raider asked. The elder hissed. Warriors gripped their weapons. The chieftain's reply was colder than the void. Then your body will feed the soil, and your sister will join you before the venom claims her. Kimmy stepped forward immediately, eyes flashing. Touch him and I'll, Kimmy, Raider said sharply. She stopped, but did not lower her glare. They're threatening family Ray. I don't care if they call it sacred law, I'll paint this jungle with them. The chieftain's gaze snapped to her again, something flickering in her eyes. You hear it too, don't you? Kimmy blinked. Hear what? The staff. Kalen's voice trembled for the first time. It speaks to you as well. Raider's stomach nodded. If they realized Kimmy's powers, if they knew what lived in her shadows, they might not call her honored. They might call her curse. Careful, boy, Asterion murmured in his mind. Some truths are not yet ready to breathe air. Enough, Raider said aloud. You've made your position clear, but understand this. I didn't ask for your prophecy. I didn't ask for this bond. I'm just a medic. I heal people. That's what I do. The chieftain's stare bore into him. Then you will heal my daughter, and in 3 days you will stand as alpha or die. The warriors moved to encircle them, weapons low but ready. Kimmy's hands twitched at her sides, shadows writhing just beneath her skin like impatient serpents. Raider caught her eye, shook his head. She exhaled, fists tightening, but held her ground. Fine, Raider said, voice flat. We'll go, but don't mistake me for your savior. I don't do prophecies. The chieftain's expression softened by a fraction. Prophecy doesn't ask what you do, off-worlder. It only reveals what you are. She turned and strode back through the ranks. The warriors rose as one, their glowing tattoos pulsing in unison. Raider adjusted Lissa's limp form in his arms and followed Kimmy stalking at his side. The jungle closed in around them, glowing plants bowing away, as if even the forest acknowledged the gravity of what had been set in motion. Behind them, the elder's voice carried in reverent whispers. The breed alpha has come. The bloodline will be restored at last. The path to the settlement wound through a forest that seemed more alive than inert. The Kusanir warriors moved like silent phantoms, their bioluminescent tattoos casting shifting patterns across the moss. Raider kept his grip tight on Lissa's unconscious form, his every instinct screaming that this was a march toward a cage. Beside him, Kimmy radiated tension. Her dark eyes flicked from shadow to shadow, fingers flexing in that restless way he knew too well. He caught the faint writhing at the edges of her outline, the shadows themselves leaning toward her, hungry for release. The warriors noticed. He could feel their unease, the way they edged a step further from her than from him, even though he carried their chieftain's daughter. Stop glaring holes in people, Raider muttered under his breath. Kimmy didn't look at him. They started it. Kimmy! His voice held warning. Her jaw tightened. The shadows retreated a fraction, but not all the way. They emerged into a clearing where the trees bent back in a perfect circle. In the center rose structures of living wood and glowing resin, organic towers grown rather than built, their walls pulsing faintly, as though the entire settlement was one breathing organism. Raider's skin prickled. Even after years of wandering alien worlds, this place felt too alive. The chieftain strode ahead, commanding presence, scattering warriors to their stations. She turned once they reached the largest structure, a hall whose walls opened like petals. Place my daughter on the altar, she ordered. Raider bristled. She's not a sacrifice, nor is she safe in your arms. The chieftain's eyes flashed. Do as I say. For a long heartbeat, he considered refusing. Then Lissa stirred weakly, her fever-slick skin trembling against him, and his healer's instincts overrode his pride. He carried her inside and laid her on a platform of woven roots that shifted to cradle her body. The shamans gathered, murmuring in low tones. The air thickened with the scent of copper and herbs. Raider stepped back, but Kimmy didn't follow. She lingered in the doorway, her stare fixed on the warriors who closed ranks around them. One of the Kusanir muttered something in their native tongue, sharp derisive. The translator caught a enough runt. Another snickered, shadowless child. Kimmy's head tilted slowly like a predator, noticing prey. Raider caught the change too late. The shadows at her feet elongated, peeling up from the ground like smoke turned solid. They curled around her ankles, slid across her arms, and then surged outward in a ripple that snuffed the hall's bioluminescent glow. The air dropped 10 degrees in a breath. The warriors froze, hands tightening on their weapons. Kimmy smiled, but it wasn't the expression of a teenager. It was older, darker honed from too much pain and not enough mercy. "Say it again," she whispered. The shadows writhed higher, coiling into claws and fangs around her silhouette. One of the Kusanir stumbled back, terror etched across his face. The bioweapons in their hands hummed uncertainly, but none dared raise them. Kimmy Raider snapped. Her gaze flicked to him. For a moment, her eyes were voids filled with stars, inhuman and endless. Then she blinked, and the shadow shrank, curling reluctantly back into her frame. "Fine," she muttered. "I'm playing nice." The hall exhaled light once more, though it was weaker than before. The Kusanir warriors edged further away, whispering in tones that mixed fear with awe. The chieftain had watched it all in silence. Now she stepped closer, studying Kimmy as though weighing a puzzle piece that didn't fit. "What is she?" the chieftain asked Raider softly. "My sister." His voice was flat, daring her to challenge it. The chieftain's eyes narrowed. "She is not of your blood." "Family isn't blood," Raider said. "Family is choice." Kimmy's smirk softened just slightly into something real. The chieftain regarded them both for a long moment before turning away. "Then pray your choice does not doom us all." That night, as the shamans worked over Lissa, Raider found himself staring into the alien jungle, Astarion resting against his knee. Kimmy sat nearby, silent for once. "You almost lost control," Raider said quietly. She didn't look at him. "They called me Runt. They're scared of you." "Good." Her voice was sharp enough to cut. "Let them be." He sighed. "Kimmy." Finally, she turned, shadows flickering in her eyes. "You want the truth? I like it when they're scared. Makes me feel like I can't be hurt again." Raider's chest tightened. He remembered too well the night he found her buried in the rubble of a colony burned by corporate mercenaries. He remembered the shadows writhing around her, the way she had laughed, with a voice broken by too much grief. 12 years old, covered in blood and ash, looking at him with eyes far too old. "Are you here to finish it?" "Go on then. Get it over with." And he had knelt beside her, hands steady even as his skin burned from the shadows gnawing at him. "I'm here to help. I'm Raider. I fix broken things." She hadn't believed him. Not then. But she had taken his hand. And somehow, against every law of nature, against every reasonable instinct, she had chosen not to break him. Now, years later, he still carried that choice. "You're not a monster," he said firmly. "You're Kimmy, my sister. And yeah, you're scary as hell, but you choose who you scare. That's what matters." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she huffed, leaning back against the glowing bark. "You're still an idiot." "Yeah," he smiled faintly, "but I'm your idiot." The shadows subsided, leaving her a girl again, just 16 and tired. Neither noticed the watcher at the edge of the clearing. Uncle Veric stood cloaked in the bioluminescent vines, his scarred face lit by the faint glow of cybernetic implants. His eyes lingered on Kimmy, and for the first time in years, he smiled. "Chaos," he whispered to himself, "at last." The Hall of Bonding was alive, literally alive. Its walls pulsed faintly like lungs, each breath drawing in the bioluminescent mist that hung heavy in the air. The floor felt soft under Raider's boots, pliant like muscle, not wood. At the center lay a basin filled with liquid that shimmered between blood and starlight. The shamans gathered around it, their tattooed skin glowing in rhythmic pulses. Chants rose syllables, jagged and guttural, scraping against the inside of Raider's skull like claws. He stood with Lissa across from him, her amber eyes still rimmed with fever, her breath shallow. Yet there was a new steel in her gaze, as if the venom burning her veins had forged determination instead of breaking her. "You don't have to do this," Raider whispered. "Yes, I do," she rasped. Her voice carried the weight of inevitability. "Or we both die." Kimmy leaned against a pillar at the edge of the hall. His crossed expressions sour. "Still think you should have let her bite finish the job." "Less complicated." Raider shot her a look. She shrugged, shadows writhing idly around her ankles. The lead shaman stepped forward, a woman with half her face replaced by crystalline growth that pulsed like a heart. Join hands. Let the bond take root. Raider hesitated. The staff at his side was quiet, too quiet, as though holding its breath. He extended his hand across the basin. Lissa's fingers slid into his, cold, trembling, but strong. The shaman poured the liquid over their clasped hands. The world exploded. Not literally, not physically, but inside Raider's skull, reality tore apart. One moment he stood in the hall, and the next he was somewhere else entirely. A sterile medical station orbiting a dead world. The stink of disinfectant and ozone. A younger version of himself standing over yet another body bag, knuckles split and bleeding from pounding the wall in rage. "You care too much," Dr. Vasquez told him, sealing the bag with clinical precision. "It'll kill you faster than any disease." Better than feeling nothing, his younger self spat. Raider jerked, gasping. The vision shifted again. Lissa this time, 14 years old, standing over her first kill. A raider who had come for children, thinking her an easy target. Her blade dripped violet blood, her hands shaking. "You did well," her mother said coldly. "But next time, do not hesitate. Hesitation is death." The man had begged at the end, begged for his mother. Lissa never stopped hearing it, even years later. Raider's throat tightened. He felt her guilt raw and choking as if it were his own. More visions surged. A burning colony. A child buried in ash and corpses, Kimmy 12. Her eyes 2 black pits filled with writhing shadow. "I don't want to be fixed," she had hissed. "I want to hurt them like they hurt me." He had reached for her anyway. Family isn't blood, it's choice. The bond forced everything open. Every scar, every wound, every mistake they had hidden from the world now laid bare before each other. Lissa gasped, tears streaking down her face. You take pain into yourself. I can feel it." "Why?" "Because that's what I do," Raider said hoarsely. "I heal, even when it costs me." The glowing liquid crawled up their arms like living veins, burrowing into their skin. Their shared memories twisted together, fusing, rewriting. "Show me." Lissa thought her voice echoing inside his skull. "Show me why your sister matters so much." Raider resisted, but the bond allowed no secrets. Kimmy appeared screaming from nightmares, shadows peeling from the walls to devour everything. He had stepped between her and the world, skin-splitting, blood-boiling, refusing to let go. "Family doesn't let go," he had told her, ever. Back in the present, Lissa stared at him through their link, awe and fear mixing in her amber gaze. She could destroy worlds. "She won't," Raider said fiercely, "because she chooses not to. And when she can't choose, I'll bring her back. Always." The final vision wasn't his or hers. It belonged to the staff. A throne room of living wood. A queen with Lissa's eyes wielding a Asterion as it blazed with impossible light. An army of cybernetic horrors breached the walls. A human man in medical whites reached for her desperation in his eyes. "Take our daughter," she told him. "Keep the Heartwood safe until love wakes it again." She had burned herself to light, annihilating enemies until nothing remained of her but radiance. The memory cracked, leaving Raider and Lissa gasping in the present, tears running freely down their cheeks. The venom mark on his shoulder blazed, then settled into a steady pulse that matched her heartbeat. "The bonding is complete," the lead shaman said, awe in her voice. "Never have I seen such compatibility. You are truly meant." Raider staggered, releasing her hand only when her grip finally eased. He stared at Lissa, chest heaving. "Now you've seen," she whispered. "The weight I carry, the blood I've spilled, the shame." He reached up, cupped her face with trembling fingers. "And now you've seen mine. Doesn't change a damn thing." For a moment, her eyes softened. A fragile smile ghosted across her lips. Then alarm shrieked through the settlement. The walls pulsed, red glowing veins flashing in rapid warning. Warriors stormed into the hall, panic twisting their features. Chieftain one gasped. "The Sky Hunters attack. They come for the new Alpha." The alarm bells hadn't stopped echoing when the hall's doors burst open. The Kusanir warriors flooded in, their glowing tattoos strobing in combat patterns. Panic and reverence mixed uneasily in their expressions as their eyes flicked between Lissa, Raider and the venom mark pulsing at his shoulder. Then the air shifted, heavy, charged. A figure stepped into the hall. He was taller than any of the others, 7 feet at least, his purple skin traced by veins of faintly glowing blue. Crude cybernetic implants crowned his temples, pulsing faintly with power. A fur cloak hung across his massive shoulders, still spattered with old blood. His eyes, augmented with glinting optical arrays, swept the chamber like targeting reticles. "Uncle!" Lissa whispered, voice tight. The word hung like a knife. The Kusanir warriors dropped to their knees instinctively, not out of reverence, but something closer to fear. Veric, the chieftain, said. Her voice was ice. "You have no right to be here." "No right." His laugh rumbled like distant thunder. "I bled for this tribe for 20 years. Protected it while your council squabbled. I buried warriors, I sacrificed myself, and for that you cast me out. For daring to make us stronger. You tried to mechanize our people," Kalen snapped. "Turned them into abominations. I tried to help them survive." Veric's gaze fell on Raider, lingering on the glowing venom mark. His lips curled into something sharp. "And now you kneel to this, a stranger carrying our most sacred relic as if it were a walking stick." "Actually," Asterion muttered dryly in Raider's skull, "it's very comfortable as a walking stick. Excellent balance." Veric froze, his eyes widened. "You hear it, both of you." His gaze darted to Kimmy, who stiffened under his scrutiny, even the small one. Kimmy's voice dropped dangerously. "Call me small again, see what happens." Veric chuckled, circling slowly predatory. "Peace, little warrior. I meant no insult. On the contrary, I see strength in you, the kind that could split this planet's crust." Raider stepped protectively between them. "Stay away from her." Veric ignored him. His eyes were fixed on the staff and Raider's grip, gleaming with barely restrained hunger. "Do you know what that artifact cost my family, off-worlder? What it took from us?" Raider tightened his hold. "Enlighten me." "My mother was its last true wielder," Veric said, touching a scar that stretched from temple to throat. "She could make it sing, reshape reality itself. Until the day she met one like you, an off-world healer, charming, compassionate, weak." The pieces clicked in Raider's mind. He glanced at Lissa. "Your grandmother, the great queen." Veric's expression darkened. "She chose love over duty, trusted an outsider with our secrets. And when the Sky Hunters came when we needed the Heartwood's full power, she hesitated. Didn't want to become the weapon survival required. She died. The outsider fled, and the staff fell silent." His voice cracked, rage and grief warring. "For 1,000 years it waited. Until you." Lissa tried to rise, swaying on trembling legs. "Uncle, stop. This isn't the way." "The way," he barked, a laugh. "The way is extinction. Our people harvested like cattle turned into meat and machinery, and you would pin our hopes on an alien and a child made of shadows." Raider stepped forward, heat rising in his chest. "I saved your niece's life, that's all. I don't care about your bloodlines or your throne." "Then you're a fool," Veric spat. "Because the venom doesn't care what you want. It's already in you. Without the bonding completed, it will devour you both. You've been chosen healer, whether you accept it or not." "Chosen," Raider snapped. "I didn't choose any of this." Veric loomed closer. "Neither did I, boy. But choice is a luxury. The universe doesn't care what we want. It only cares what we can take." The staff pulsed warm in Raider's hand. Asterion's voice was low. "He is not entirely wrong, you know. The Heartwood amplifies what already lies within. His mother chose love. He chose rage. You must decide what you choose." Kimmy slid between them, shadows coiling protectively around her like living armor. "Back off, Thunder God, or I'll show you what choice looks like." For the first time, Veric hesitated. His augmented eyes flicked to her, and something like wariness crossed his face. Then slowly he stepped back. "You're strong," he admitted. "Stronger than you know. But strength without direction is chaos, and chaos consumes." His gaze flicked between Kimmy, Raider, and Lissa. "Mark my words, when the time comes, you'll understand why I chose rage, because it will be the only thing left." He turned, cloak flaring behind him, and strode from the hall. The warriors scrambled to clear his path, their whispers following like echoes of a storm. Silence settled in his wake. Lissa sagged against the altar, trembling. He won't stop. Not until he proves himself right. Raider pressed a hand to the venom mark burning at his shoulder, feeling the steady thrum of her heartbeat inside his own. "Then we'll just have to prove him wrong." Kimmy's smirk was sharp as broken glass. "Can't wait. I've been dying to punch a family reunion." Lissa's laugh was bitter, but it carried a flicker of hope. The night sky above the Kusanir settlement bled red, not from moons or stars, but from fire. Raider watched as streaks of burning light cut across the heavens, each one a cyberdog drop pod slamming into the jungle, canopy with explosive force. The air shook with the impact. The living walls of the settlement quivered like flesh under a blow. "They found us," Lissa whispered. Kimmy cracked her knuckles, shadows writhing eagerly around her ankles. Finally, I was getting bored. The Kusanir warriors scrambled into formation, their bio-armor sprouting weapons that glistened like grown crystal. The chieftain barked orders, her voice steady despite the fear flickering in the eyes of her people. Raider adjusted his grip on Asterion. The staff shimmered between forms, uncertain whether to become a medical tool or a weapon. Its voice hummed in his skull. "Sky hunters, filthy things, always sending their dogs first. Brace yourself, boy. They like to toy with prey." The jungle erupted. The first cyberdog burst through the foliage, its body a grotesque fusion of metal and meat. Bladed legs slashed bioluminescent moss to ribbons as it lunged straight for the chieftain. Raider didn't think, he moved. Asterion transformed mid-swing, hardening into a glaive that blazed with violet fire. The blade bit through servos and synthetic tendon, severing the creature's head in a shower of sparks. The warriors gasped, some in awe, others in fear. Then the real wave hit. Dozens of cyberdogs poured into the clearing, their howls metallic and guttural, vibrating in the bones. The Kusanir line wavered. "Hold them," the chieftain roared. The Mai struck like a storm. Blades clashed against bio-grown weapons, flesh tore against steel. The air filled with screams and the screech of machinery. Lissa grabbed Raider's wrist, pulling him back to back with her. "Stay close. If you fall, we both die," comforting Raider muttered, but her strength steadied him. Kimmy was already gone, swallowed by shadow. One moment she stood beside them, the next she was everywhere at once, her silhouette flickering across the battlefield, shadows coiling into tendrils that pierced cybernetic beasts and dissolved their metal like acid. One dog lunged at her. She caught its snapping jaws in both hands, shadows reinforcing her grip. Her grin was feral. "Bad choice." She twisted. The dog shrieked as its frame collapsed inward, devoured by the darkness. The Kusanir warriors froze mid-battle, staring. Fear widened their eyes. They whispered a name: Shathra, the Devourer. Kimmy turned slowly, eyes burning, her expression daring them to speak louder. None did. "Kimmy," Raider shouted, "control it." For a moment he wasn't sure she had heard. The shadows writhed, hungry, eager to consume more. Then she exhaled, and the darkness recoiled, leaving behind nothing but twisted wreckage. She flashed him a grin, sharp enough to cut steel. "I'm fine, mostly." Raider barely had time to roll his eyes before another wave hit. 3 cyberdogs leapt as one jaws wide. The venom mark on his shoulder burned white hot. Suddenly, Raider saw everything, saw the weak points in their frames as if outlined in neon, saw the timing of their leap like a rhythm he'd always known. He moved. Asterion speared the first through its central processor. He spun, slicing the leg off the second, then smashed the butt of the staff into the third skull, cracking it like brittle glass. The staff hummed, startled. "That wasn't me. That was you." "Fascinating." Raider staggered, panting. "Great. Now I'm a glowing target with insider cheat codes." "More like my favorite lab experiment," Asterion quipped. "Don't die. I'm curious to see where this goes." The battle raged. Kusanir warriors fell, their glowing tattoos dimming as life bled from them. The air stank of ozone, blood, and rotting circuitry. Lissa fought like a storm twin, blades flashing in brutal arcs. She moved with lethal grace, her strikes fueled not by prophecy, but by fury. Every cut, every kill was a rejection of her uncle's claim that her people needed machines to survive. Yet the cyberdogs kept coming. For every one that fell, 2 more burst through the walls. The settlement groaned, its living structures cracking under the onslaught. "They're testing us," Lissa gasped between strikes. "Scouts, just scouts." Raider's stomach sank. If this was only the beginning, what came next would drown them. A howl rose above the others, deeper, metallic, wrong. The warriors faltered. Even Kimmy paused, her grin fading. From the jungle, shadows emerged, something larger. A cyberdog, yes, but warped. Its frame was a patchwork of harvested Kusanir parts grafted to metal, its eyes glowing with stolen amber light. And when it opened its jaws, Raider recognized the voice that came from its throat. Alpha. It spoke. The Kusanir line broke. Warriors stumbled back, horror etched on their faces. "Impossible," Lissa whispered. The abomination lunged faster than anything that size had a right to be. Raider barely had time to shove Lissa aside before it slammed into him. Claws dug into his chest, sparks flying as Asterion strained to hold the jaws back. Raider's arms trembled, the venom marks seared, flaring brighter. Pain lanced through him, not his own. Lissa's, their bond pulse sharing everything. Raider, she screamed. The staff whispered in his mind, let it in, don't fight the venom. Use it. He had no choice. He let go. The venom ignited, power surged through him, raw electric burning every nerve. The world slowed. The abomination's movements became predictable, sluggish, almost clumsy. Raider drove Asterion upwards straight into the creature's skull. Light exploded, tearing it apart from within. The battlefield froze. Warriors stared. Kimmy's shadow stilled. Even the jungle seemed to hold its breath. Then silence. Dozens of cyberdogs lay twitching, their frames collapsing into ruin. The survivors retreated, vanishing back into the forest as abruptly as they'd come. The Kusanir warriors sagged, some cheering weakly, others weeping. But Lissa did not cheer. She stood pale and trembling eyes locked on Raider's shoulder. The venom mark pulsed brighter than ever, veins of light spreading across his chest like roots. You're changing, she whispered. Raider followed her gaze, heart sinking. Kimmy approached, shadows curling lazily around her arms. She smirked, but it was thin, brittle. Well, big brother, looks like you're officially the galaxy's hottest commodity, alien alpha shadow sister and prophecy princess. Whole damn circus act. Raider tried to laugh, but the sound came out broken. His body shook with exhaustion. His veins burned with borrowed fire. In the distance, the jungle echoed with the metallic howls. The sky above flickered with the unmistakable silhouette of something larger descending through the clouds. The first battle was over. The war had just begun. The smoke hadn't cleared from the first assault when the ground began to tremble. Every Kusanir warrior still standing felt it in their bones, the deep, thunderous vibration of something massive moving through the jungle. Raider steadied himself against a cracked wall of living wood, Asterion humming hot in his palm. The venom mark pulsed brighter than ever, spreading glowing lines across his chest like roots. Lissa caught his arm. Her amber eyes, fierce even in exhaustion, met his. That wasn't their real attack. That was just the test. Kimmy spat blood into the dirt, shadows curling protectively around her shoulders like a cloak. Yeah, well, I hope their final exam is multiple choice. I'm really bad at essays. Before Raider could answer, the jungle parted. They came in waves, an army of harvesters, their bodies twisted amalgams of stolen flesh and machine limbs ending in surgical instruments, faces erased into blank metal masks. Behind them lumbered combat mechs, each one pulsing with stolen Kusanir biotech. And at the head of it all, towering above the chaos, stood Veric. His body was more machine than flesh now. Blue veins pulsed with mechanical rhythm beneath his skin. Extra arms grafted to his torso ended in whirring saws and plasma cannons. His augmented eyes glowed cold red, sweeping across the settlement like targeting arrays. When he spoke, his voice was amplified, rolling across the jungle like a storm. People of Kusanir, your chieftain has failed you. She pins our hopes on an off-world pretender and his broken companions. But I bring strength. I bring survival. Surrender the false alpha, and I will spare what remains of you. Silence answered him. Fear trembled in the air, thick as smoke. Then Lissa stepped forward. Her body was bruised, her armor torn, blood drying on her cheek. But when she raised her chin, she carried the weight of her ancestors in her voice. We don't kneel to tyrants. Not to the sky hunters. Not to you. The warriors behind her stiffened to resolve, sparking in their glowing tattoos. Raider exhaled slowly. He stepped forward to stand beside her, the venom mark blazing brighter with every heartbeat. Asterion pulsed warm in his palm, the ancient staff thrumming with anticipation. I challenge your claim. Veric Thunderclaw Raider called his voice, carrying further than he thought possible. Not as an outsider, not as prey, but as one chosen by the Heartwood. As one bound by blood to your niece. As one who's seen what your mother truly wanted. The name Thunderclaw made the Kusanir warriors murmur. Veric stiffened, his extra arms flexing. You dare speak of her. Raider's voice rose steady and sure. I know she chose love. I know she died free rather than live as a tyrant. And I know the Heartwood woke for me because I understand something you never did. Veric snarled. And what wisdom do you think you possess that I lack? Raider tightened his grip on Asterion. That family isn't blood. It's choice. It's standing together even when everything says run. It's saving strangers because you can't help yourself. It's teaching broken children they're more than their pain. That's what gives us strength. For a heartbeat, something cracked in Veric's expression. A flicker of the uncle who had once protected a young Lissa. But then it hardened, drowned beneath machinery and rage. Pretty words he spat. He raised one cybernetic arm, signaling the army behind him. Let's see if they stop plasma fire. The first wave hit. Harvesters charged, surgical limbs flashing. Combat mechs stomped forward, shaking the earth with each step. Plasma fire lit the night sky. Lissa drew her blades, her movements fluid and unyielding. Kimmy grinned a wolfish grin, shadows erupting around her like wings. Raider felt the venom burn through his veins, his vision sharpening until every weak point on every enemy glowed like a neon sign. They moved as one. Kimmy's shadows coiled into shields, deflecting plasma fire. Raider waded into the fray, Asterion, shifting between weapon and healer, cutting down harvesters while sealing the wounds of fallen Kusanir warriors in the same breath. Lissa was a storm of steel, every strike precise, every movement a declaration. We will not be harvested. But for every enemy, they felled more surged forward. The air shook with the roar of machines and the screams of warriors. Getting tired yet, Veric's voice boomed over the chaos. He stood untouched at the rear, letting his army grind them down. This is reality, healer. Numbers, technology, power. Your love means nothing. Lissa's voice cut through the battle. Look at them, Uncle. And Raider did. He saw it, how Kimmy threw herself between him and plasma fire shadows, forming barriers that bent light. How Lissa covered Kimmy's flank when she overextended. How Raider himself absorbed pain through the bond so Lissa could keep fighting. They weren't three fighters, they were one. And the Kusanir warriors saw it too. One by one they surged forward, not because they were ordered, but because they chose. They fought not for prophecy, but for each other. For the alpha who bled beside them, not above them. Raider raised Asterion high. Light flared brighter than the fires of battle. Strength shared multiplies, he shouted. When did you forget that, Veric? When love made my mother weak, Veric roared back. But his voice cracked on the words. Then the jungle shook as something far larger descended from the clouds. The mothership, a biomechanical horror the size of a city block bristling with weapons. Its primary cannon charge glowing with energy, meant to erase the settlement in a single blast. Veric raised his arms. Enough games, surrender or watch everyone you care for burn. Raider felt the bond surge. Lissa's heartbeat pulsed in his chest. Kimmy's shadows brushed against his soul. Asterion's voice whispered, trembling with excitement. This is the moment, boy. Not dominance, not submission. Synthesis, share it. Raider didn't keep the staff's power for himself. He let it flow. Through the venom bond into Lissa, through blood and memory into Kimmy. Power spread three ways, weaving their strengths into something new. Light exploded, not consuming fire like the ancient queen's last stand, but balanced, harmonized shadow and healing, and fury intertwined. The mothership fired. They caught it. The cannon's energy slammed into them and stopped trapped between Kimmy's shadows, Raider's healing touch, and Asterion's ancient wisdom. For a breathless moment, they held destruction in their hands. Then they turned it back. The blast struck the mothership, not as destruction, but as restoration. Its harvested components screamed as the stolen flesh was unmade, freeing those still alive within. Beings from a dozen worlds stumbled free, dazed but alive. The Kusanir warriors cried out, awestruck. Veric staggered, his optical rays flickering. Impossible. Lissa strode forward, blades dripping. No, Uncle. It's family. Kimmy appeared beside her, shadows writhing like pets on a leash. Her grin was pure danger. And we're really bad at dying. Raider leveled Asterion at Veric. Stand with us or stand alone. Veric's weapons trembled. Around him, his cybernetic army collapsed, their victims freed by the transformed energy. The mothership fell from the sky, burning not with destruction, but rebirth. He sank to his knees. For the first time, his voice was quiet. I've lost everything I built, everything I sacrificed. Lissa stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. Not everything. You're still my uncle. Still family. If you choose to be. Raider felt the truth of it settle in his bones. After all the blood, after all the rage, even Veric deserved the chance to choose. For a long, trembling moment, Veric said nothing. Then his extra arms fell away, rejected by his own flesh. He bowed his head. Then teach me, he whispered. Teach me how to be something other than rage. The battle was over. The war was far from won. But for the first time, hope bloomed among the Kusanir like dawn breaking after endless night. 16 years later, the Kusanir settlement was unrecognizable. Where once walls of living wood had quivered under siege, now they stretched tall and strong, woven together with strands of bioluminescence that pulsed like stars trapped in roots. Children ran laughing through streets grown from coral-like vines. Freed peoples from half a dozen worlds walked beside Kusanir tribesfolk. The scars of war had not vanished, but they had healed into something stronger. And then the training grounds exploded. Raider Blake coughed smoke, swiping glowing dust from his face as the crater settled into silence. That, he said, pointing into the smoking pit, was not the exercise I assigned. At the center of the blast stood Zara Blake Kusanir, his daughter. Violet skin glistened with sweat. Her rose-colored hair tangled around a face split by a grin far too pleased with itself. Her hazel eyes, Raider's eyes, sparkled with mischief. Shadows curled lazily at her fingertips, flickering like living fire. In my defense, she said brightly, Aunt Kimmy told me to put more power into it. From the smoke emerged Kimmy herself, older now, but still carrying that same sharp grin. Her eyes were darker shadows coiling around her shoulders like a perpetual storm. She was wiping purple blood from a shallow cut on her cheek. I said a little more power, Kimmy corrected, shaking her head. That was enough to crack a moon. Only a small moon, Zara protested. Kimmy gave Raider a look that said, your kid, not mine. Raider pinched the bridge of his nose, already feeling the headache blooming. Lissa appeared a heartbeat later, her armor still adorned with chieftain's markings, her presence commanding even when exasperated. She took one look at the crater, then one look at Zara. Kimmy said to put more power into it, Lissa guessed flatly. Yes, Zara said with a beaming smile. See, you understand me. Lissa sighed, covering her eyes with one hand. Daughter, you are horrifyingly powerful. And reckless. Twice as reckless, Kimmy added with a smirk. Zara twirled a strand of hair around her finger, utterly unrepentant. Thank you, Raider groaned. But before any further scolding could begin, the air shifted. Everyone felt its wrongness, like the world itself hiccuped. Shadows coiled tight around Zara without her calling them. Kimmy's grin vanished. Lissa's hand flew to her blade. Raider reached instinctively for Asterion, still leaning against the medical center. But even at rest, the staff pulsed uneasily. The sky tore open. Not with ships, not with harvesters, with something else entirely. A rift yawned above the settlement, bleeding impossible colors that twisted reality into knots. Through it stepped beings that looked like someone had tried to sculpt angels while sobbing too many wings, too many mouths, faces that shimmered between beauty and horror. One spoke its voice like breaking glass and dying stars. We seek the hybrid heir, the one who bridges three bloodlines. The catalyst foretold. Its gaze locked onto Zara. She blinked. Me? Lissa stepped in front of her, instantly blades drawn. Raider moved beside her, Asterion snapping to his palm. Kimmy surged forward, shadows erupting around her like a tide of midnight. You're not taking my niece anywhere, Kimmy snarled. The being tilted its too many heads. She is the key that breaks the lock, the shadow that heals, the healing that destroys, the catalyst for the war between what is and what should never be. Zara's grin faded. She whispered, that sounds bad. You're not going, Lissa said firmly. Raider's heart pounded. He felt it again, the same impossible pull he'd felt the day Lissa's bite changed him forever. A destiny too big to fight bearing down on them. Behind them, Asterion's voice spoke trembling for the first time in years. Holy void. They came. After all this time, they actually came. Raider gritted his teeth. Whom? My creators, the staff whispered. The gardeners. And they want their experiment back. The beings stepped closer, wings unfurling, reality warping around them. The rift pulsed wider, spilling impossible light across the settlement. Zara cracked her knuckles, shadows and bioluminescent sparks dancing together across her arms. For the first time, her grin returned, sharp, reckless, utterly her. Well, she said, this should be interesting. Kimmy smirked, shadows gathering like a storm. Now she sounds like me. Lissa raised her blades. Raider lifted Asterion, the venom mark still pulsing steady after all these years. Family. Not by blood, but by choice. Always by choice. Together, they formed up around Zara as the gardeners advanced. Whatever came next, they would face it the same way they always had. Together.